We'll begin with a Nagoon, song without words to, even though our heart is racing, I don't know. I don't know if we need quite the adrenaline kick we usually do, but anyway. Let's go up a little bit. A little low for me here. Hey, oh, hey, oh, la da 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 da, ya da da da, ya da da, ya da 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 da, ya da da da, ya da. Hey, oh, oh, hey, Shabbat Shalom to all of you. Shabbat Shalom to Leah Miller, who is, I think of you as one of the children of Emmanuel, although you grew up a little bit far from us, too far in my particular opinion. And Rob, I would love for you to put our little blurb about Leah up on the screen if you would not mind, because they are incredibly accomplished in all that they do. I want to say I met you first as a younger kid, but I don't know, maybe you were around 13, 14, something like that at the time. Anyway, so thrilled that Leah could join us, especially as we close out our month of Pride. Leah's voice is unbelievably fresh, and they are an amazing writer. So you can read a little bit about Leah here. And we're going to take a moment from what was really a chaotic and sobering week, where we are certainly thinking of all those who are waiting to hear news about family that seemed to have crumbled from a building, fallen from a building, and the sadness in that. But we see also the light that shines from our Shabbat candles that brings Shabbat to us, and the blessing that we say in order to bring Shabbat to our homes. Rob.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kirshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Amen. And of course, we rise in all things holy. That means we may or may not stand for the Kiddush. It really doesn't make a difference. All that's important is that we sanctify this day. We set it apart. We make it a day of rest and resouling. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho v'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu zikaron lema'aseh v'reishit כי הוא יום תהילה למקראי קודש, זכר לציאת מצרים, כי בנו בחרת ואותנו קידשת מכל העמים, בשבת קודשך, באהבה וברצון הנהלתנו. ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת. לחיים. And Leah, it's my privilege to turn things over to you.
I'm going to be singing Batya Levine's rendition of Lecha Dodi, and this is the first verse up on the screen, and then I'll also do verses 2, 5, and 9, and if you may rise with me on verse 9 in body or in spirit, and that's when we welcome in the bride. Lecha, lecha dodi, lecha dodi, likrat kala, pene Shabbat nekabela. Shamor v'zachor b'dibor echad, Ishmianu el cham yuchad, Adonai echad u'shemo echad, L'shem u'tiferet Belitila lecha dodi, likrat kala, pene Shabbat nekabela. Likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelcha, ki hi mekor habracha, merosh mikedem nesucha, sof ma'aseh b'machshava tichila, lecha dodi. Lecha dodi, likrat kala, pene Shabbat nekabela. Hitoreri, ki ba'orech kumi uri, shir daberi, kevod Adonai, alayich nigla, lecha dodi, likrat kala, pene Shabbat nekabela. You may stand if you would like. Boi v'shalom, aterat fa'ala, gam besimcha ub'sochola, toch emunei am segula. Boi chala, lecha dodi, likrat kala, pene Shabbat nekabela.
That was absolutely gorgeous. Thank you. Thank you for that. And now we call on Leah Jones. I knew I'd do that. Leah. Okay, Leah Jones as she reads.
I'm gonna need a bigger.
Here we go.
Okay. I am the world, not separate or apart, not one among many, but many within one. I am the world, birthing and dying, growing young and growing old. I am the world, capable of sustaining all who need me, if I would but give myself away.
We invite you to rise physically or spiritually as we continue with our Baruch Hu. La 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach HaMevorach Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam va'ed Le'olam va'ed. You may be seated.
As the sun sinks and the colors of the day turn, we offer a blessing for the twilight. For twilight is neither day nor night, but in between. We are all twilight people. We can never be fully labeled or defined. We are many identities and loves, many genders and none. We are in between roles at the intersection of histories or between place and place. We are crisscrossed paths of memory and destination, streaks of light swirled together. We are neither day nor night. We are both, neither, and all. May the sacred in-between of this evening suspend our certainties, soften our judgments, and widen our vision. May this in-between light illuminate our way to the God who transcends all categories and definitions. May the in-between people who have come to pray be lifted up into this twilight. We cannot always define, we can always say a blessing. Baruch atah Adonai Hama'ariv Aravim. Blessed are you, God of all, who brings on the twilight.
Amen to that. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. 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 Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam va'ed. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam va'ed. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך, ושוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם. לאה.
ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. כי 6 ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם.
I love it. You play your own drum. I mean, amazing.
On a Sidor.
I love it. I love it. I love it. And now a poem that Leah and I share as one of our favorites.
Yes, from the most important Mary Oliver. Praying. It doesn't have to be the blue iris. It could be weeds in a vacant lot or a few small stones. Just pay attention, then patch a few words together, and don't try to make them elaborate. This isn't a contest, but the doorway into thanks and a silence in which another voice may speak.
We truly do stand at a doorway right now, a threshold where we remember not just our virtues and goodness that we bring is part of the way that we honor deity, but those virtues and goodness that we share with our ancestors, their imperfect perfectness. And so in that vein, I invite you to rise physically or spiritually as we continue services with the tefillah. Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi yagid tehilatecha. Eternal God, open my lips that my mouth may declare your glory. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Elohei Avotenu v'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Velohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Leah, Velohei Rachel, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomer Hasadim Tovim, Vekoneh HaKol, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה. מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי הכל אתה רב להושיע. מוריד הטל, מחכה חיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים. סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומידו מלך, מלך ממית ומחיי, ומצמיח ישוע, ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני, מחיי הכל. אתה קדוש, ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יעלוך סלה. ברוך אתה אדוני, האל הקדוש. As we put this last week away and make room in our hearts for peace, God willing, peace to settle in, we take a moment for our own private reflections. Yehi Ratson Imrefi V'hagyon libi lefanecha Adonai Suri Adonai Suri Goali Seder Kriyat Torah Shabbat, the order for reading of Torah on Shabbat, this Parashat Balak, chock full of interesting stuff. We begin, of course, first with a Shema. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh Shema.
Baruch hu et Adonai hamborach.
Baruch Adonai hamborach leolam va'ed.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu ruach haolam. Asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Vayar Balach ben Sapur et kol asher asa Yisrael la'emori ויגור מואב מפני העם מאוד כי רב הוא, ויקוץ מואב מפני בני ישראל. ויאמר מואב אל זקני מדיין, עתה ילחכו הקהל את כל סביבותינו, כי לכוך השור את ירך השדה, ובלך בן ציפור מלך למואב בעת ההיא. וישלח מלאכים את בלעם בן באור בתורה אשר על הנהר, ארץ בני עמו לגרור לו לאמור, הנה עם יצא ממצרים, והנה כיסה את עין הארץ, והוא יושב ממולי. ועתה להנה ארץ לי את העם הזה, כי עצום הוא ממנו, אולי אוכל נקבו ואגרשנו מן הארץ, כי ידעתי את אשר תברך מבורך, ואשר תאור יואר. And so Balak, son of Zippor, saw all that Israel had done to the Amorites. Moab was alarmed because that people was so numerous. Moab dreaded the Israelites, and Moab said to the elders of Midian, "Now this horde will lick clean all that is about us, as an ox licks up the grass of the field." Balak, son of Zippor, who was king of Moab at that time, sent messengers to Balaam, son of Beor, in Pethor, which is by the Euphrates, in the land of his kinsfolk, to invite him, saying, "There is a people that came out of Egypt. It hides the earth from view, and it is settled next to me. Come then, put a curse upon these people for me, since they are too numerous for me. Perhaps I can thus defeat them and drive them out of the land. For I know that he whom you bless is blessed indeed, and he whom you curse is cursed." Leah.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu ruach haolam asher natan lanu torat emet v'chayei olam nita b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
I just wanted to say, sorry, briefly, I meant to say it before I did the blessing, but you might have heard it sounded different than it looked on the page, because I said Ruach Haolam instead of Melech Haolam, which is another name for God. Instead of using the masculine king, I used the feminine word and maybe concept of spirit, Ruach.
Which is a lovely thing. You know, I mean, we play with language all the time. And what's important about these changes is, much like the Reform movement, we need to be sure that everyone feels that they are part of and not excluded from the dialogue. So before we turn it over to you, Leah, and I'm so looking forward to all you have to say, because I think the world needs more humans like you. There are two other people who are experiencing a real simcha this coming weekend. Namely, on Sunday, Bob and Sandy and Dina will be celebrating their 50th wedding anniversary. That's quite extraordinary, right? I remember, wondering if I'd get through 50 days of of marriage. And so I want to offer up this small blessing. You might notice you in ZoomTube or wherever we're going to be placing this video, or those on with us right now, that Bob is not with Sandy. That is because Bob is engaging in the mitzvah of Pekuach HaNefesh, saving a life. And so he was called to stay at the office, and he's doing exactly what he should be doing. Oh God, eternal source of blessing, we turn to you in gratitude for the strength and devotion that you have preserved and sustained Bob and Sandy and permitted them to reach this hour. Saturday night, in the midst of family and loved ones, they look back on the years that they have passed since they first pledged themselves to each other. Many and varied have been their experiences since that day. Many have been the mingled occasions of victory and defeat, of fulfillment and disappointment. They recall the joys that graced their days with light and beauty. They also remember the dark storms that shook them. In joys and trial alike, O God, you have been with them, so may you continue to be with them, guiding and sustaining them in years to come. Bob and Sandy, may God bless you with health and contentment in the circle of your family and all your loved ones near and far. And we all say, Amen. And Sandy, if you would, offer a Shechianu for reaching this exquisite moment in time.
Thank you, Shelley. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, shehechianu v'kiyamanu v'higianu lazman hazeh.
Amen.
Amen.
Mazel tov and many, many more.
Thank you.
Leah, I look forward to turning this over to you.
Amen. Mazel tov, Sandy and Bob. All right. Good Shabbos, everyone. It's so special to be here sharing this Zoom one-day YouTube space with all of you on this Shabbat. I've loved and cherished your cantor, Shelley, since my cousins were bar mitzvahed here ages ago, even though I've never actually lived in Chicago or visited a non-bar mitzvah service before now. It's an honor to share my first drash with you all since officially setting off on my rabbinical school journey. And I'm so grateful to share some words with you on this Pride Shabbos. My queerness and my Judaism are the most beautifully intertwined parts of myself, and I cherish any opportunity to create a bit more queer Jewish community love. So this week's Parsha is Balak, and it is a magical wild ride through the less narratively rich book of Numbers, or Bamidbar. So as we heard from beautiful chanting and English reading, Balak is a Moabite king who fears the strength and size of the nearby encamped Israelites. He sends for the prophet and seer Balaam to curse these strangers with the promise of great riches as reward. Balaam agrees, but only with the caveat that he can only speak the words that God puts into his mouth. Balaam sets out on his faithful donkey, but God sends an angel/messenger to block the path. Here's the magical bit. The angel is only visible to the donkey, who risks physical violence to protect her master from the sword-wielding opponent. After beating his donkey, God opens the donkey's mouth to question Balaam's reactionary violence. The angel is then revealed to Balaam, and there is a confrontation before he continues on his way. Balak and Balaam set up elaborate ritual sacrifices to prep for Balaam's cursing 3 separate times, and each time God puts blessings into Balaam's mouth instead of curses. And then back at the camp, the Parsha ends with some Israelite messiness as they worship Moabite idols and women, leading to much more death and divine wrath and impaling. So there are 40 instances of words related to sight in this one Parsha. Most of these are different forms of the verb ra'ah. So buckle in for a moment while I get nerdy about biblical Hebrew, my favorite pastime at the moment. So in its basic form, ra'ah means to see, to perceive, to observe, and more abstractly, to give attention to discern, or to distinguish. And when ra'ah is put into the nifal binyan, which is a fancy grammar term for a passive form, we get to appear, to be seen, to be visible. And that's a lot of what pride is about, navigating the relationship between visibility and invisibility. Some queer folks struggle with being too visible in a sometimes dangerous cis and straight world, like two men holding hands and getting harassed, or the traumatic daily violence that trans women face in public sometimes. And some queer folks, like me, struggle with invisibility. As a non-binary femme-presenting person, I often feel invisible in my gender queerness and gender identity, especially when I let my hair grow or wear dresses. And some bisexual people have a hard time feeling visible in their queerness or the nuances of their identity, like especially when they might be monogamous and dating someone of one gender or another. Of course, I'm painting with broad strokes to make a point, but I know that I've had many conversations with queer friends about these different and difficult experiences of visibility and invisibility. But then we can also put ra'ah into the hifil binyan, another grammatical category that usually has to do with a causative action, and we get to cause to see, or in other words, to behold, to exhibit, to make the heteronormative world take a good long look at our beautiful variety in glitter and leather and latex. And we can also put it into the hitpa'el binyan, the reflexive or reciprocal form, where we start to see and be seen by each other. We can look at each other face to face. And we get the beauty of queer community and the magic of self-recognition in the other. For any musical theater fans, the beautifully earnest song Ring of Keys from the musical Fun Home is a great example of this. Small Alison Bechtel experiences ra'ah in the hitpa'el form as she witnesses a potential version of herself in an adult queer butch delivery person with dungarees and a big ring of keys. But back to Balaam, whose name, by the way, means not of the people, woe, but also he converses with our God, the Israelite God, also woe. So Balaam is a professional seer. He makes his living with his ability to see, ra'ah, at least as far as his vision and insight are given by God. And yet, when faced with a messenger of God, Balaam cannot see, or rather, he is made to not be able to see the angel in his path. I'm not sure how I feel about the moral of this magical fable in terms of a wrathful and all-powerful intervening God who plays with the living chess pieces of Balaam, Balak, and the donkey to prove a point about omnipotence and the power of God's chosen people, the Israelites. My understanding of the divine is and will likely always be in flux and formation, but I do know that this rubs me the wrong way. And so while I don't love the idea of a God that literally takes control of someone's tongue, mouth, vocal cords, I do love the idea of thwarted curses crafted into blessings. And I want to be careful to not lean into the everything happens for a reason mentality, and how that could lead to prodding people to craft their curses and their trauma into silver linings and lessons and blessings. But I do think that transforming curses into blessings is a powerful opportunity and one with a lot of queer precedence. I think this is most palpable in the word queer itself. Originally meaning odd or strange, the word became a slur hurled at gender nonconforming and sexually diverse people. And eventually, and mostly successfully, the word as a slur was reclaimed by the community. It's been canonized into academia with queer theory and the acronym of LGBTQ, and many people prefer this term for its expansiveness to describe themselves in the larger community. I love it and use it joyously, I especially enjoy the way that queer can cover gender and sexuality, family formation, and so many more beautiful parts of myself and my community. I also love the origins of queer as odd and peculiar. Connecting this etymology to our Jewish practice, I wanted to share this ancient blessing that I've seen repurposed in queer contexts. In the Talmud tractate Berachot about blessings, there's a conversation about what blessing to make when you see an unusual person or animal. And there are some not great examples that follow where this difference includes really racist and ableist ideas of what an unusual person is and looks like. So I want to leave that back in the Talmud, but I do love the idea of blessing and embracing the beauty and magic of how beautiful and different we all are. So I bless myself and I bless all of you. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu ruach haolam, mishaneh habriot. Blessed are you, source of life, who makes creatures different. So thank you for bringing me into your sanctuary and dealing with all of the tech stress, and good Shabbos, everyone.
Good Shabbos. You know, Leah, the moment I met you, you made such an impression on me. And it's not just for your shock of red hair, which you shared with your grandma Judy. It's that you just are insightful. And on top of having this amazing insight and this amazing way to sort of look at the world, you have a goodness about you, which informs everything that you do. And so when I found out you were going to become a rabbi, I wanted to like cry, because we need more of you. We need people who reach out instead of only being concerned with reaching in. We need people who are going to hold a mirror up and make sure that others are really seen, and who will guide what they do from a place of generosity of spirit and kindness. So what a blessing you are to not just your family, some of who are on the call. Hi, Susie. Hi, Danny. And the amazing stock that you come from, because your family is really, I think, quite extraordinary, right? But in your own right, you are carving away, and I just can't wait to see where you're going. The RRC is very lucky to get you in the fall, and I'm delighted that this was your first pulpit.
Thank you, Cantor Shelley.
You're so very welcome. We're going to turn now to something a little less joyful. This week has illuminated in that horrific building collapse how fragile we all are. And so you will notice when we get to the Kaddish list that we're not going to be listing anyone who has passed away. The Jewish tradition says that you do not list somebody until after they're buried. We are certainly thinking of the 4 that have been confirmed dead, and thinking of all those who have yet to be found and their families. Oh my God, the crushing feeling they must all hold. And so we're going to keep them in our hearts, as well as members of our congregation here listed: Aviva Aliza, Laura Kina Aronson, Marvin Barsky, Milena Riley Bergman, Barbara Berman, Harvey Bowler, Joan Bransfield, David Burchett, Fegasora Barhaya, Ruth Gannon Cook, Felicia Dunnigan, Phil Goldstucker, Debbie Frank, Eslyn Garb, Phyllis Goldblatt, Don Grandolfo, Mimi Harris, Toby Hartman, Harold Katz, Jeffrey Krause, Robert Langfelder, Doris Louie, Roy Lloyd, Miriam Lyon, Gerald Marks, Jimmy Miller, Sharon Montesi Garskoff, Moshe Ben Chava and Natan, Nicole Newcomb, Irene Noparstak, Amber Noy, Don Olson, Mark Proman, Gary Prees, Rodney Qualls, Rich Reisman, David Rosenthal, Arthur Rousseau, Alan Sager, Sam Sagi, Casey Siengo, Kristen Rouse Skinner, Tali Stein, Michael Van Buren, and Virginia Wharton. Are there any other names, either people on the call or in our chat box?
Lori Spinhern.
Yeah, I have Stuart and Terry Epstein, Xander Schnitzer.
Thank you. Leah, we're going to turn to some people you might recognize in this video. Thank you to the Tweeties for singing us.
Give me just a second here.
Not a worry.
We did do a number on your browser earlier when we were doing our tech.
Sure.
May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Mishe Bera Imotenu Mekor Havracha Le'avotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
Many thanks to Leah's cousin, Sammy, her cousin, Spencer, and her uncle, Jeff.
Can I tell you a funny thing about those videos?
Please.
So in my head, there's the outside video, and there's in my head. So when Mia became bat mitzvah a couple weeks ago, Mia asked for the porch video, and I was like, "There's not a porch video. There's a gymnasium video, and there's an outside video." Because to me, the porch video looks like they're sitting in my junior high gym with the stand pushed up against the wall.
Yeah.
And for a year, I have thought of that one as being inside the gym.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, they're everywhere.
welcome to my brain.
The Tweeties are everywhere. All right, we rise in all things holy as you may choose to do so physically or spiritually as we continue with the Aleinu. עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הרצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו כהמונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא, ונאמר וחיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו echad. Our thoughts turn now to those who we have loved and lost at this season, at this time of year. They live within us. We're not going to just keep them in our heart, but we're going to keep them in our eyes, going to allow them to come forth with us into the world as the way that they've shaped us, the way that they've helped to create us, must be imprinted upon us. And so this congregation remembers Saul Bonham, Rose Bush, Mildred Crown, Maurice J. Doppelt, Yaffa Claire Drazen, Kurt Dreyfus, Bess Friedland, Seymour Friedman, Marion Garb, Edith Ginsburg, Max Goldstein, Frida Kruger Goldstucker, PFC Alan Good, Sonia Hirsch, Mary Jane Jones, Jeanette E. Kahn, Meyer M. Kurlansky, David Levin, Herman Meyer, Nessa Meyer, Elsa Milhouse, Sarah Mogul, Beatrice Moskowitz, Maddie Radel, Betty Rudolph, Ella Sallet, Kurt Stanislavskiker, Bessie Hirsch Stein, Jack Tenenbaum, Florence Wilkes, and those who perished at the Mother Emanuel African Methodist Episcopal Church in Charleston, South Carolina, 2015. Reverend Payne Middleton Doctor, Cynthia Graham Hurd, Susie J. Jackson, Ethel Lee Lance, Reverend Clemetta C. Pickney, Taiwanza Kibi Diop Sanders, Reverend Daniel Lee Simmons Sr., Reverend Sharonda Coleman Singleton, Myra Singleton Qualls Thompson, and in recent days, Ted Erdeshek. Are there any other names?
In recent days, Judy Cohn.
We keep all of those named and unnamed in our hearts as we continue with Kaddish Yatom. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, ba'alma divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayachon uv'yomachon uv'chaye d'chol Beit Yisrael, ba'agala uv'izman kariv v'imru, Amen. Yehei shemei Rabbah mevarach leolam olmei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yithadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei d'kudisha brihu, le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechamata, da'amiran be'alma v'imru, Amen. Yehei shlama Rabbah min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru, Amen. Oseh shalom b'barmav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru, Amen. May the source of peace send peace to all of you who are bereaved among us, and let us all say, Amen. Rob, now that we've toasted your browser, do you think we could still go to our website? Thank you. Many different ways to engage. Sunday the 27th, Shalva special program. Our Emmanuel Town Hall on Sunday, June 27th at 11 on Zoom. Classes with Rabbi Joseph Edelheit. What am I missing? July 19th and August 23rd still remaining. And our prospective family Shabbat gathering Saturday, July 24th, as well as Women in Wisdom, a program that I get to be part of with the Ishas of our congregation, and a prayer-oki class. If you've ever wondered how to say these prayers, join with me. One other thing, there will be our very first in-person gathering on Friday night, July 9th.
Share
Correct?
Shabbat comes
Share
back.
Shabbat, yes. We're going to eat and be Jewish. It's going to be fabulous. Also, many wonderful ways to engage with our outward-facing 5959 online. The amazing prayer, it is like a prayer experience. It's a poem experience where you get to create your own poems. I think there's two more of those.
There's two more workshops with Robbie Q. Telfer, who leads people, and I heard that there was an amazing poem this week about egg creams. And then we've got these authors. Michael Zapata is amazing. He's a Jewish Latino author, and we're celebrating the launch of his paperback. So yeah, it's cool.
Wonderful. So many, many ways for you to be with us, and that's what we want. Many, many thanks to my dear, my sweet Leah Miller. I'm sure that I'd like to share actually with Danny and the rest of your family the pride they must feel. It must be off the charts. And I feel that way too, even though I had absolutely nothing to do with you standing in front of me. But I just couldn't be prouder that you're going to join yourself to the long chain in your family of people who make a difference. So thank you, and to Sandy and Baba and Dina, Mazel Tov. To all of you, I wish you a peaceful Shabbat Shalom. Let's sing Tefillat HaDerech as we go on our way. May we be blessed as we go on our way. May we be guided in peace. May we be blessed with health and joy. May this be our blessing. Amen. May we be sheltered by the wings of peace. May we be kept in safety and in love. May grace and compassion find their way to every soul. May this be our blessing. Amen. 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 May this be our blessing. Amen. 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 May this be our blessing. Amen. Shabbat Shalom.